but have to project in the long run what their life is going to be about. I don't want a 20-year-old wearing diapers.
Yeah.
So that's essentially how
Did
we
you guys
look at
go take your kids from the get like to schools that were specifically they had programs that were able to manage kids with
it.
autism?
Special day classes.
Yeah. Or did you just try and go to a regular school and just try and go through it, or like what were the thought
okay, you're talking about,
processes
like, a
with
private
schools?
Private, it's not like open mind or something like that. Well, okay, there are several like private schools specific for autism as well, or other disabilities.
Yeah.
They're very expensive.
I was about to say, they're an arm and a leg.
Yeah, they're very expensive. For those, from what I hear, they can be supportive. Like general education private schools generally are not that great for special education. But public schools are generally better because there are laws
They're
that
legally
protect them.
obligated.
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
public or general education private schools, they don't, and I've had several families who have had really tough issues with that.
Well,
So-
private schools are not receiving federal funding.
Yeah,
So they're
Right.
not obligated to
Yeah.
provide services for
Okay.
special needs children.
yeah,
But public schools, taxpayer dollars,
yeah.
Goes
are
right to
obligated
yeah.
and is covered by a federal law under IDEA.
Yeah, so, and then every district has, kind of like a different special education program, like Berkeley, it's all inclusion program, San Francisco and like Oakland, the special education program, there are a lot of special education programs from, all the schools are inclusive, as well as special day classes that are also specific to mild to moderate, severe, and autism
The special day
specific.
classes are specific to just children.
Yeah.
It's a small classroom with children with disabilities.
With
And
similar needs.
not necessarily just autism, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
where they
Program.
require a smaller room and size class
Yeah.
for focus and support.
Yeah, it's with special ed teachers and often with 2 or 3 paraprofessionals or aides is what they're called, and
Yeah.
then, a lot of the special ed if they're in special education, they have a IEP, an individualized education plan that is a legally binding document that stipulates all the supports and services that they have.
Goals.
And
Yeah.
and then lots of goals and objectives. So this documentation can be like 40, 50 pages long. like my older son, and then my younger son who's like higher functioning, he doesn't have as many issues, right? So it's a little thinner.
Mhm.
But someone who has a lot of issues that need a lot of support, it could be a thick document.
Right.
And then we have and then there's like speech therapy on top of that, occupational therapy, physical therapy.
Wow.
There are classes for deaf and hard of hearing, emotionally disturbed. That's still all special
And those
education.
therapies are all supposed to be educationally based.
Yeah.
So I mean, if your child needs therapy to help with things that may help with the communication for home or whatever, or maybe speech therapy is not good because more like physical therapy.
Yeah.
Maybe physical therapy just so that they can do something that's more pertinent to home life. The school will not pick it up because they're saying that's not an educational need. Yeah.
So often with our families, we have two systems to work. We have our healthcare providers that provide health and services for we call ADLs, like activities of daily living.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we have special education or educational needs, and so the services that we get in these 2 avenues are very specific to those. Yeah,
Mhm.
so we're constantly dealing with the school education, working and negotiating needs and services there, and then healthcare needs there.
And then everything else that's in between that you're like,
Yes,
"Ooh."
and
We're
then
trying to live a life.
live a life. There's medical needs.
Get a bath in between when we can.
It's
So what does go into the decision of we're gonna go out, we're gonna go to the zoo, we're gonna go to SF
Right.
MoMA? I mean, what goes into that process?
So for me, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Sorry.
recording now? Oh, we started. We started.
I
Sort of.
thought we were just
I mean-
having a conversation. So
Only like 2 minutes ago.
A little bit of Okay. both.
okay, were you here last year as well?
I was, when
When
we were in the big room.
okay, because I remember both of you. So
Yeah.
and I remembered Robin.
Yeah.
So I probably don't have to reiterate everything, but I was just showing this earlier. This is my daughter now, the very tall girl. I showed her. This is when she got her diagnosis. but as most parents, our kids are always going to be our little kids. So, I have to admit, I kind of treat her like a little girl every so often because I want her to stay a little girl. But so for it encourages me to go out. Part of it is every family, whatever they're comfortable with. I'm an outdoor. I at least used to be a very active outdoor person. I mean, before my daughter, I used to do a lot of volunteer work out in the community. We like backpacking and hiking and all that. So, and I also am thinking of when I was a child, we couldn't afford anything. I'm a kid from the city. I couldn't afford. My parents couldn't afford Girl Scouts,
Right.
sending us to camp. 8 kids in our family, so of course we couldn't afford anything on a military pay. I wanted her to have everything I couldn't have. But when she showed signs of not being capable of doing that, out the door went all those other activities. However, I researched things, and she's involved in track, Special Olympic track. She's in Special Olympic soccer, AYSO soccer, Little League Challenger League. And she used to do swimming too. I had to take some things off her list because she also was doing a lot of therapies that we were private paid outside of school. So she had a very full schedule. But also I love museums on top of that. And I brought her to everything. And back when she was small, this has gone away. There used to be, you can become a member at a museum, and that allowed you access to a bunch of other museums. And what's the museum that's over at down in San Mateo by the Coyote Point? There's a small little.
Oh, Curiosity.
No, I don't think that's. What is it?
They changed the name from the Coyote Point Museum
Coyote Point Museum
to
okay.
Curiosity.
Okay. I back when she was small, I can buy a membership there and use my membership to access.
There's still something
I think California Academy of Sciences for free as under that pass. But when I think when the boom hit, and because all the tech companies used to be able to provide additional funding to museums, when that went away, so did those passes.
Is that specific to special needs though, or just
No,
general? Okay.
Yeah, general
public.
membership.
Okay.
But all you had to do was go to a place that had a cheaper membership, and you were able to go every. A friend taught us that, so, and that was good for about 3 years by the time it went away. But I also, as I told Tracy, I worked at Exploratorium when I was a teenager, so I was one of those explainers, and I love the idea of being involved and seeing children and learning. And I mean, I was a real nerd as a high schooler, and I was hoping my daughter would follow my path, and obviously she was not going to follow my exact path, but I wanted her to have the opportunity as any other typical kid to enjoy our city.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's anything from walking around Treasure Island, go to Christfield, and any museum we have here. So, I mean, the aquarium, every museum in the city, pretty much, I've taken her to. As she become more and more challenging, we go to it less and less, unfortunately. But she's hit most of them already, so she's had that experience.
Yeah.
So on my side, okay, so some of the challenges of actually going out, we're planning of going out. So with me having 2 kids on the spectrum with issues and stuff like that, and on the younger side, I'd say it's definitely a learning curve. I think for families with young kids where they're just newly diagnosed and they're trying to learn how to live this new founded life, I think it's, like I said, it's definitely a learning curve. They may go out and forget a lot of things, and it really does take time to find a strategy in how to manage all these various different situations. So I am forced to become a very good planner. They have to think. I have to think way ahead of time the night before or something and say, okay, we're going to plan to go, let's say, to the Aquarium of the Bay. So I have to make sure I have all the supplies needed. If it's food, because my kids are going to be hungry at any moment, drinks and stuff like that. Have that all packed like the night before, sort of thing. So in terms of equipment and materials, I have, that's something I do have to gather. I may have I used to have maybe more bags, bigger bags. Sometimes I have one bag for 2 kids or 2 separate bags because my husband may have to deal with my older one, and again we have to separate. And I'll do with my younger one. because my older one can't deal with whatever, and so we use our phones like walkie-talkies, like, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Do you need a diaper? You know, you need to change, you know, wash him, can I pass you a diaper? Or do you need more wipes? That sort of thing. So there's that in terms of the parenting side. Now for the kids, often we try to tell them ahead of time what we're gonna do. We can tell them, we can show them a video on YouTube, like this is what you're gonna expect. We have this thing called social stories. Some parents and therapists and something you guys could do, make a social story which often has pictures and then just very simple words about, okay, in the morning we're gonna get in the car, we're gonna have breakfast, next page, you know, we're gonna go to the entrance of the Aquarium of the Bay, this is a picture of what it looks like, you're gonna meet some people, we're gonna go see this exhibit A, B, C, then we're gonna have lunch, and then come back to the Aquarium of the Bay. So all these things that we do to prepare our kids is to reduce their anxiousness and their anxiety, because often that's where a lot of the breakdowns, and you can imagine, and you'd be scared and anxious too if you don't know what's daunting, that's what's going to come, right? And that's where a lot of it comes from. So you try to explain to them a lot, show them pictures, you know, what's to come, and that decrease their anxiety. So this sort of thing, sorry, what was I gonna say? These are like, great things that decrease their anxiety and kind of, make things smoother. Definitely, things that you guys can do to prepare.
So things like the sensory map, is that something more for the parents to use, or is that something that kids can look at
together?
We do together.
I'm going to jump on a couple of things that Tracy was talking about, because my daughter's autism is anxiety based. So that's why transitions are so overwhelming. I like the fact that she mentioned about a social story. I mean, I have a social story, it's called Pictello on my phone. And that's how I used to get my daughter to help transition from appointments to everything. I like the idea that you said maybe even a social story here. If you had a book that just to introduce kids, like, here's a story about our aquarium that you're going to walk through here, have a picture of that, maybe have a picture of that big aquarium with the fish in it, and then just pictures so it helps their expectation and decreases the anxiety, because a lot of kids on the spectrum do have anxiety. So and maybe not just anxiety, but you know, that anticipation. So if there was someone that drafted a social story and maybe even had a couple of the books out so that families, even the typical kids who might feel overwhelmed, I would use an example of if you were going into a haunted house type of amusement. It's there to scare you and overwhelm you, right? That's almost everything our kids walk into, because it's scary and overwhelming. So that's just to give you a feeling of what they may feel. So